Hello and welcome back to the Aegis LoR League Season Fates Voyage Beyond. We are in week 4. My name is Sparkling Iced Tea, and with me here the wonderful Spider-Mansion. How are you doing?
I'm doing good. How are you today?
I mean, it's pretty late over here already, but you know what? This is the biggest current event and maybe the last biggest event going on. At least in the competitive scene, so I couldn't resist to cast once more, and I'm really excited for today because I've heard whispers that we might see some EU players today as well later on, and we have some banger games prepared for you. Starting out today, we are starting with Group 2, which I'm really excited for, and our first match is going to be Lotus Purple vs Shadow Isle Gang. And looking at Group 2 already, there is a big discrepancy between these two teams at the start of the day, right?
Yeah. There's these are some real grinders on the Shadow Isles team. So we're in for a treat watching them today, I think. But
absolutely.
I agree. Yeah.
Yeah, they're currently second place in their group. Again, that is Group 2. Meanwhile, Lotus Purple, unfortunately, they find themselves in the last place in their group. So currently not moving on, right? So first place obviously moves directly into playoffs, and then the rest playoffs, but the last place, unfortunately, with no chance. It's going to be a little bit tough, but Lotus Purple can still obviously play spoiler in this group and can still give the Shadow Isles Money Gang a run for their, well, money.
Yeah, absolutely. There is last place, there's still opportunities for them to improve their standing. There's still opportunities to play spoiler.
And I fucking love that. I also love an underdog story. So while obviously I personally think today that Shadow Isles Money Gang, just stats wise, it does have the upper hand, and just from the roster, I do feel myself rooting a little bit for Lotus Purple, just being like, okay, give him one punch, just take a win home today. Super excited for that one. Also just excited to see some goddamn LOR again. Unfortunately, again, competitive scene is, well, it is getting toned down a little bit, so I'm always glad to get these Aegis matches on screen to see broadcast them as well. Super excited for that. Maybe we can actually get a look at the deck stats, because again, this league has been going on for a while. We are in week 4 already, and as we can see here, not much has changed since the last World Championship. Obviously, this is the Eternal format, so you would expect some things to change, but still at the top, we do see Jax On, we do see Galio Morgana, and Elder Dragon, and I mean, if that doesn't remind you of Worlds, what else does?
Yeah, exactly. A lot of familiar faces here. Top dogs are still the top dogs.
Exactly. But that said, even though we do see a ton of Elder Dragon, and obviously that brings the Runeterra region with it, we also see a ton of PNZ, and I think this is something that has been a mainstay in LOR for quite a while, PNZ just being one of the strongest regions in the game, especially with the newest expansion, or with the latest expansion that was added, a Tempo and other cards as well, just making PNZ even stronger. And we see it here. Nyla Twisted Fate, also one of the most broad decks. Twisted Fate obviously pairing super well with Nyla's whole package, and that is just a treat of being in an Eternal format, that TF can come out and can wreak some havoc with Nyla and the Tempo.
Yeah, there's a lot. Like, you can see over in cards, almost 200 of individual copies of Temple this week. But the one standout for me, especially for PNZ, is almost 100 more copies of Mystic Shot than the next most brought card.
Yeah, well, Mystic Shot is just not only a staple in LOR, not only a staple in PNZ, but I think just one of the best cards that has been added to the game, and it was like one of the original cards, obviously, that came out back in beta. It's just very simple. Deal 2 for 2, just the perfect card, especially if you play draw heavy decks, so you have that additional burn, so you have the option to remove something. Just such a versatile card that is well, never really seen any stop and play. So doesn't surprise me, especially if a lot of PNZ is brought, that card would be up there, especially because unlike other cards, it is just such a main staple in PNZ that it is almost indefensible to not include it in any PNZ deck, because you can really fit it in a PNZ control deck, in a PNZ mid-range tempo deck. It just fits anywhere.
Yeah, absolutely. It is single-handedly like the best card printed in that region, and there's basically no reason not to include it if you're going to be there.
Yeah, and I'm also super excited, talking about PNZ, to see that Rumble Draven ready, okay? Aggro deck, just the other side of PNZ, especially paired with Noxus. This is something that is also a region combination that we had since beta, just going all in on aggression now with the discard of the Rumble and the Draven. So happy to see Draven as well, just one of my favorite champions in the game. And then down there, we also see Akshan, Sivir, Elder Dragon there, replacing what used to be Demacia once upon a time, and Sivir Akshan was paired with Demacia. That said, looking at Demacia, it is still one of the most broad regions compared to other regions like Ionia, like Bandle. Obviously, that changed a little bit. Demacia has gone through some evolving archetypes throughout the years, where we had like fast rally decks, and then we had just board spammy decks that played off champion strength. Now with Galio, obviously also a good deck to bring in combination with the Elder Dragon and Morgana.
Yeah, I mean, if you asked me a year ago, I would have told you that Galio was one of the weakest cards in the game, and now he's been a staple, for months. That Demacia deck is quite strong, and he's really good in it.
Yeah, but it's so funny to me that we can see, like, obviously Ornn is also there, but Ornn and Elder Dragon just really driving this whole Runeterra region, just surge of like decks that play that region. Just because you can see, yes, obviously a lot of the times the Runeterra region is paired with Freya, for example, then we do have the Jax on. The other times paired with Demacia, obviously we have various Elder Dragons decks, but like just simply one of the best Elder Dragons decks, if not the best, is just a combination with that Galio and with that Morgana, and it works so well. We also have quite a bit of Bannerwood in here, paired with Noxus. I mean, also strong region combination, and PNZ pairs well with so many other regions. Just the Ionia PNZ obviously works in either like aggressive or also mid-range decks. We can actually take a look at those decks now, especially when it comes to the upcoming match that we have ready for you guys. So let's swap over to there and see. AJ, obviously the person that we are going to follow. We just mentioned it. PNZ, very versatile region. One of the regions that has always dominated Runeterra, and we can see it here in AJ's lineup, can't we?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we see it 3 times, and I think we're going to see some similarities between the PNZ cards brought in these cases.
Yeah, I mean, we are just hyping Mystic Shot up as like the card. You can basically put it into any deck. I'm sure you could have fitted it in here somewhere, but this deck is just one of the decks where it is kind of hard to get some space. Lulu Jinx, an aggressive deck that just wants to get on board and run you over, has some burn on top, obviously, but can also just flood the board very, very easily. This has been a deck for years now, and it has been a favorite of a couple of players and a couple of my favorite players. For example, Broken Ball, just absolutely love that deck. I personally am a big fan. Just because, again, you have Get Excited in here as well now, combined with Electro Harpoon, just there to bring those Jury Rigs and those Flame Chompers on the board, build a bit of tempo with the Lulu and the Jinx. You have some burn over the top. I don't think a Mystic Shot is necessarily needed. It would provide additional burn, but just Electric Harpoon, Get Excited, Jinx Rocket provides you so much that you might not need more.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree with you. But yeah, we can move on to the next deck list here, which is, again, another aggressive staple, Draven Rumble. Here we do see the Mystic Shots, but we see a lot of other discard outlets like the Blowback.
Oh, hell yeah. Blowback, obviously, a card that was added after Get Excited already rotated. So Blowback, kind of a replacement for that in combination with the Get Excited now in the Eternal format. So much discard available for this Draven Rumble deck, and we do have quite a bit of discard fodder now from Noxus. We have the Reborn Grenadier, we have the Fallen Rider, obviously 2 cards that heavily get boons being discarded. The Grenadier just being played outright, and the Fallen Rider just giving you a strong version. Again, Draven also just provides you with discard fodder and provides you with an instant way to get the survival skills and an easy way to get more cards for the Blowback to eventually kill your opponent. Just very strong cards all around. A lot of burn. As you mentioned, the Mystic Shot is in here because this deck can also get on the board quite quickly, but might need a little bit more direct burn to actually finish out off their opponents.
Yeah, and it really packs the burn. I've seen decks like this burn people out from 15.
Ooh. Yeah, you also see the Enraged Firespitter, one of the best additions. I would say the best dragon, besides Elder Dragon, obviously, that was added to the game. And just a Noxus main staple, you can also just fit into almost any Noxus deck, whether it's burn or mid-range, just fucking pack it in there.
Yeah.
But great deck, and I think we can take a look at the third deck that AJ is going to bring today. And that goes a quite a little bit of a different route, because we have a Fierce Victor, a lot of burn as well. We have the Get Exiles, we have the Mystic Shots, obviously we have the Ballistic bot, so burn is in here for sure, but this deck can also go the long route.
Yeah, absolutely. We're seeing that star shaping there for a little bit of heal, a little bit of extra top end. I really like the one of Neandroid, try and go over everything else, just get a big elusive unit, and then yeah, just a ton of burn.
Yeah, Spacey Sketches in here as well, just because this card fodder is also generated by the Mountain Goat and the Ballistic bot and the Lunari Dustbringer. So what you can do with this deck is really you can get, like all the other PNZ decks that AJ brought, can get on the board very quickly. You might be able to snowball the game, but you also have that combo potential with the Neandroid and the Ballistic bot, the Victor just being able to flip. So many options here as well. Expanse Protection in here, because this deck profits from your Furious or your Victor staying on the board, but also a couple of other cards like the Neandroid, for example, just getting to hit through. So you really have a couple of cards that you want to protect and you want to get through, but in the end the burn is also there. So PNZ looking really strong. Super excited to see how AJ's match goes.
Absolutely.
All right, but we might also have the decks of his opponent, Max, and we're starting off with Nyla Twisted Fate. We talked about it. You mentioned Sunken Temple with almost 200 copies today, but I think this deck is just showing why. All right, Sunken Temple, Twisted Fate, Nyla. Obviously, Nyla very strong, but in combination with the Twisted Fate, one of the best champions that has graced this game, just from a fun perspective. Super strong, but also a little bit hard to play. Resource management, obviously once you have the Sunken Temple on the board, not well that hard, but before that, just getting that turn where you can bring the temple on the board, that can actually screw you over sometimes, especially if you play against these very, very quick decks.
Yeah, absolutely. Sticking that temple, taking that turn off is going to be really tough. But on the other hand, it doesn't look like AJ has a lot of answers to deal with that temple in his lists. So I'm interested to see how that plays out.
Yeah, we have the Ruined Rex in here. Absolutely fantastic card, especially with the Sunken Temple. And with all the other draw option that Nyla Twisted Fate has. I'm super excited for this deck because, honestly, a big TF fan, especially when he was broken back in the day. But the next deck is going to be Aegis Esports, talking about broken back in the day. I feel like this deck actually has caught a lot of flack, where I remember everyone just absolutely hating on this deck that wasn't playing it and just, oh my god, this is so broken. But I feel like there has been some revisionism going on Aegis Esports in the last 2 years. We've seen people on Twitter and everywhere else be like, hold on guys, this deck actually wasn't that good. It wasn't that dominant. But let me tell you, still, while it might not have been that dominant, this was still, back in its day, one of the most annoying decks you could play against, because the matches could be very one-sided depending on the matchups. Since then, the deck has had moments where it came back into the meta, and now, with this being Eternal, I can definitely see why you would bring this.
Yeah, I think it's been a really strong presence throughout this entire Aegis season, with several people bringing it week to week. The buff to Desert's Wrath has really helped this deck quite a bit, and this deck is near and dear to my heart. I was definitely one of the people playing it, not one of the people annoyed by it. So I'm always excited to see it here. But yeah, it's definitely a really strong choice here.
I also just love to see Shapestone, honestly.
Yes.
One of the cards that you were probably missing if you weren't. But let's take a look at the third deck that Max actually brought to the table here. And I spy Noxus Bandle. And we do have the Ziggs Poppy here. Also a deck that when this combination got released, people hated to play against this deck. It was one of, if not the best aggro deck back in the day. At Bandle City release, just Ziggs providing that burn and the solid stats for the costs, obviously combined with the Poppy that can just buff up the board, and then Bandle and Noxus just having very good options to get on the board early, to bring the bodies on the board and just throw themselves in. You also have Noxian Fervor, Pokey Stick, and Decimate. all as the burn options, and I am just so happy to see my good old pokey stick. Honestly, ever since rotation happened, I've been missing this.
Yeah, it's such a nice card to see. I'm always happy when it finds its way into a deck list. Obviously, quite a strong card. Every reason to have it in your deck if you're playing Vandal City. But God, what a fun card!
Oh yeah, also the Stone Stack I see in here. You know what? The only thing I miss from the game, and it unfortunately now will never come back, but you know, there were so many nerfs to it, but I still miss Ping City. But like seeing Stone Stackers and Pokestick in one deck always makes me happy.
Absolutely.
But yeah, those are the lineups here. Max also the mix lineup, to be honest, can go quite aggressive as well, right? We have two lineups that just want to do their thing, just want to hit their opponent. No control lineup. We don't have a mid-range lineup from both players, so it's just going to be both of them going at it, trying to just get the nexus of the other player down to 0 as quick as possible.
Yep, they're just going to be a nice fast race.
Yeah, it seems like the players are also already going to move to the matchup screen, see what each player is going to be able to ban. Do you have any predictions?
You know, I do think that today, at least overall, I think Shadow Isles Money Gang is probably going to take it. And in terms of this matchup, Draven's always been very good into, say, or Zero Relia. So I have a feeling that AJ is going to be able to take this down.
I mean, obviously, as you can see down there, I thought the same, to be honest. Yeah, just stat-wise, also, I'm a big fan of AJ's lineup, so I personally also think that AJ is going to... And I think overall that Shadow Isles Money Gang is taking the whole matchup. That said, if Lotus Purple wins, they also win my heart, okay? I'm down to see some underdogs win.
Absolutely, same.
Alright, but now we are moving on to the matchup screen. We are on the bans here. I already asked you this, but do you have any prediction what the ban is going to be?
Yeah, I mean, so like I said, from Max's side, right, it's really tough to play a Zero Relia into Draven. So you probably want to get that Draven off the board. The rest are obviously big. You could also say, get rid of the Aphelios, say, I don't want heal is cheat. And then, but in terms of AJ going into Max, you probably just either want to get rid of, you probably just want to get rid of this Poppy Ziggs. It's the only deck that can kind of race you back.
Yeah, I do agree, especially because the Poppy Ziggs, once it gets on board, can be quite annoying. But that said, I feel like on the other side, sometimes you don't really want to deal with the healing of the Victor, but it isn't really that much. And if you don't get a Phelios or a Lucky Victor roll, it is one of the decks that you could potentially just steamroll back, especially if you have to play AZ Aurelia, because I do think that together with another deck is going to be one of the decks left. Now the Draven Rumble deck can be a little bit scary, especially if they have the Draven on 3. In general, I think though that the Lulu Jinx deck is just so fast and can get on board so quickly that it is really hard to play with any other deck against it. It has a couple of removal options as well for your AZ Aurelia deck. It's going to be really tough to actually outpace them because they are on the board and because it's not all about burn.
That's true, yeah. I mean, that Lulu Jinx does get wide the fastest, does refill the fastest. So yeah, that's absolutely a functional ban. I think any of these ban choices from Max are perfectly reasonable.
Okay, so yeah, in the end, obviously, this also comes down to not only to stats, but also to player preference. But I do think we are going to see both Vandal decks banned, but you know what? I'm gonna be surprised. I'm gonna be honest. I haven't been playing as much Eternal as I probably should have been over the last couple seasons. So yeah, there is a caveat to everything I'm saying.
I don't disagree. I've not been historically much of an Eternal player myself, but I am happy that that's the format here. Get one last hurrah to all the cards.
Yes. Well, not all the cards, okay? We're gonna get some new cards in about a month.
That's true. That is true.
To all the yet released cards.
Yeah. Plus, not all the cards. I don't think we've seen many Udyrs registered to this tournament.
That's that hits me in the heart. Okay, I feel like I'm one of the few gamers who actually believed in Udyr the whole way through.
Listen, I played Skathis' Udyr deck many times. I was very pleased with that deck, and it took me to many Aegis wins. But unfortunately, he's not doing it these days.
Oh, well, yeah, no, he is really not. I mean, Udyr had obviously some metas where he was semi-viable in certain spots, but I was just loving the interaction with Scargrounds, obviously. But you know what? Ever since Scargrounds got rotated, I'm having a bad time because let's be real, you can't play Scargrounds in Eternal either. It's just the power level too strong. Oh, okay, wait. Wrong on both sides, okay. Wow. Actually banning out the Targon deck. I mean, as we do mention, the Targon deck does have some healing and does have some resiliency, especially once you get to be able to stick the Aphelios and the Victor. And on the other side, the Nyla Twisted Fate ban. Twisted Fate, to be honest, very good option to clear the board. Nyla Twisted Fate, also one of the decks that can get on the board very easily and very fast. So also good ban from AJ's side there. I actually didn't really consider that. Yes, that is the deck probably on the side that maybe it's not as resilient from the stats, but does have some fighting back against all your weenie decks.
Yeah. And here we are getting into the mulligans. Very interested to see what cards are kept here from both sides, or if this is post keep. This hand from AJ looking like, you know, some options are keepable here. Seeing 2 1-drops. And from Max, that domination in the hand is pretty good, but no Sand Soldier Generator can be pretty rough.
Yeah, it just looks fantastic for AJ though, I have to say. Yeah. That is a great hand. Spirit Portal is honestly okay. You have some discard for it. You generate early. Oh, but Squeaker, that is a card you want to see.
Yeah, that Squeaker really kind of smooths out the hand quite a lot. Whereas Max's hand, unfortunately, other than that domination, it's really not doing all that much until we draw into an Azir or a Deus.
Yeah, especially with no turn 2 play, depending on what AJ does here, Max could already see quite a bit of damage getting dropped into the Nexus here from AJ. So the question is, how aggro do you want to go with AJ? Do you just want to slam down Squeaker, or do you just go double 1-drop and see what happens?
Yeah, I think either option is perfectly reasonable here. I think because we have the Spirit Portal in hand, it might be really strong to get a really wide board very quickly, which we can do by the turn 4 open.
Yeah, especially like just threatening 6 damage here already. Yep, and we're going for it. First one drop down. Bird can also drop on the board here, one of them anyways.
Yep.
And then we can just swing in. Ooh. That's looking bad for Max, not gonna lie.
Yeah. Then plus with the Bird and the Squeaker for next turn, and then Spirit Portal to open is quite strong for AJ.
I do like the decision of just, okay, whatever, I'm gonna take 6 here. This can block something bigger, something meaner, and maybe can also provide me with some ability to fight back. But honestly, I don't think AJ is gonna have too much trouble blocking big units. So
yeah,
keeping the now 3/3 on the board, but the 1/1 might not matter that much. Next turn, again, AJ can slam down 2 units this turn. Yep, and then next turn we can just slam down Jinx.
Yep, and he's going for exactly the line I sort of expected here. He is ditching this Jinx to get this board as wide as possible, and he's likely going to ditch this, I would guess, ditch this Mecha Ural to the Spirit Portal next turn.
Yeah, just going for a wide open swing. And there are only 2 blockers on the other side, and none of them really block favorably. Just evens.
Yeah, here he may not even go for the open. He may play the 1-drop and then Spirit Portal. Of course, that loses to one of the 3 Desert's Reds in hand, but AJ can't know that they're there.
I mean, I don't think you can do that, because if you do that, your board is... I mean... Yes.
I think it's a reasonable play. I like this more, I think, because you do lose into any wider develops, especially those desert rats. So I think this is definitely a safer play. Force hard blocks. You're just so far ahead already. Just take the safe line.
Yeah, 6 HP already for Max. Board looking strong for AJ. Jinx in hand as well. We'll get another squeaker.
Leveled Jinx in hand as well.
Yep. Oy. Now, Max can swing a little bit back, but with 17 HP remaining for AJ, AJ doesn't really have to care. Plus, we have a couple blockers as well. So, I don't know. This turn alone is not going to be enough for Max to actually swing in hard enough. Especially because this squeaker can also, like, if AJ wants double block or at least block one of the sand soldiers, and like 2 of these blades can also be blocked as well by the 3/2s.
Yeah, with no cards left in hand, you can just fully block this attack, let the second attack just hit you, and then come back on the open and basically just present lethal.
Right, yep. I was like, are we not blocking the third blade? I don't think there's any negatives to it, but yes, we are blocking the third blade. And there is really nothing that Max can do here. Obviously, he has to swing in with most of the, at least with the 2 sand soldiers here, but with the AZ as well, just to threaten more damage. You could lose the AZ, but then at least AJ has to like play another card, play a get excited, something that would get that AZ out of hand. I like the decision to just play a naked squeaker, saying, hey, I don't want to discard my Jinx, but I can play 2 units this turn, go in for an open swing, and maybe then afterwards level the Jinx.
Yeah, and I do love AJ just tanking this damage. There's just he knows that he has Max dead on board. No reason to block.
Items as well for some burn if we want it, if we need it. And there we go, the swing comes in, 14 damage, threat, nothing Max can do, and AZ Aurelia falls in the first game. AJ just taking it with Lulu Jinx. I mean, that is about what we expected in that matchup.
Yeah, absolutely. Just Max's hand didn't line up. Three Desert's Wrath is tough, but that Lulu Jinx deck just gets out so fast. There was just really not much Max could have done there.
They're just threatening the 6 damage on 2 already. That was quite tough, especially because AJ was also going on evens, which benefited him quite a bit there. Because usually if you have Lulu, obviously you want to just swing in at odds, but just with the hand that was provided there, just being able to swing 6 damage in turn 2 worked out in AJ's favor. And now we're going in there. We obviously the Enraged Fire Spitter, Fallen Rider, discard fodder is there. We again have a very good early hand here for AJ. But on the other side, Max finally draws 1 drops, 2 drops, so can fight back this time around.
Yeah, absolutely. Still no token generator for the long term. So this Aurelia is not going to really get online very quickly, but we do have ways to clog up the board and just keep AJ on the defensive. However, with the Draven in AJ's hand, these blades are just not going to be useful after this Draven comes down. You're just going to be, honestly, something that's a rarity in this matchup. You'll be allowing AJ to level, in this deck, you'll be allowing AJ to level his Draven for free if you just keep making blades.
It's my time.
Hell yeah, we always see AJ swing in here, deciding whether to full swing or just swing with the 2-1. Obviously, if you full swing, you will not get the blade, right? But just swinging with the 1-2-1 might be a little bit too slow here. So AJ considering just going for the full swing after all. Could also keep this all back. But apparently decides to just swing in with the 2-1 here.
Yeah, I think AJ is basically, amounting to the fact that we're not likely to see a block here other than maybe a 1-2. So just deciding whether presenting only a 1-2-1 and presenting all 3 2-1s, which would end up being probably about the same amount of damage, which is worth. And I like the line he went with, clear down the board. An empty board is better for AJ than it is for Max, because AJ can just refuel it faster.
And there we see Draven obviously drawing a little bit dead off the top here for AJ, but that doesn't really matter if we can just discard Useless cards we don't need. I just
and a
said we're
rumble
drawing
off the
empty.
top.
So this turn though, what you can do is you can just develop the Fallen Rider, the Boom Baboon, and then burst play out the Chompers to actually get a massive swing in as well, with max of 1 blocker here able to be developed by Max. That again could be a devastating swing. So I don't even know if you go for the Rumble. You might just go
I absolutely
really wide.
think that should be the line as well. And then if we want the Rumble, we can play it defensively. And between the Rumble and Draven on board, you really just shut down any of Max's attacks.
Yeah, AZ Aurelia really not looking good here. The matchup versus AJ. AJ probably was pretty happy to see that on the other side. I honestly still think that you probably had the best chance with AZ Aurelia versus the Aphelios deck. But I don't know for sure.
I think I agree. I think people, when people reference the historical Azure Aurelia, they always, point to Thresh Nasus as being the big meta breaker on Azure Aurelia. But to me, I remember Draven decks as being a big threat, especially with 3/3 Draven. You just give them the opportunity to create a leveled Draven, which they don't often get to do.
Time for the money maker.
And I like this a lot. Not open playing the Chompers, but waiting for the attack, for the blocks to come out and killing the domination afterwards. That was a 3/3 with quick attack, and it was presented to block, deciding, yeah, I can get rid of that. It is probably way stronger.
Yeah, plus just looking at the hand of AJ, we have so much burn. We don't need to end the game that quickly, especially because Max is not really representing the biggest amount of danger here to AJ. AJ can definitely tank a couple of hits here. Could try to use the blowback here to get rid of the Aurelia, but I don't honestly know if it's worth it, because I don't think you want to either sacrifice your Get Excited or your Rumble.
Well, you only need to discard 2 cards, and we can discard both the Axe and the Draven's Biggest Fan, right?
Yes. The question is then afterwards, we don't really have that much Rumble interaction. But to be honest, Rumble doesn't need that much in this matchup. Rumble just being able to get impact is honestly just enough. But just as a naked big unit with quick attack, also pretty good in this matchup. There's not a lot of interaction. Like back in the day, the AZ Aurelia decks also played a bunch of recalls for your opponent as well. Not happening this time around, so you don't really have to fear that.
Yeah, and I really like taking this aggressive block. I think from Max's side, wanting to go for this level here is really probably the right play. But by tapping out, you let AJ just get this Draven block, create more discard fodder, and yes, now kill this Aurelia.
Yeah, we did have protection in hand, but yeah, as you mentioned, just a desperation play to force something from AJ here. But honestly, AJ was probably pretty happy to block with that Draven, just generating another Axe. And at this point, this is just going to be an open swing lethal again. Nothing we can do. The Get Excited is not even needed. And that was a goddamn quick 2-0 here. AZ Aurelia just getting beaten to death PNZ today. Nothing Max can do.
Yeah, and that is the problem with the Azure Aurelia. It is a really strong and really aggressive deck, but sometimes these aggro decks just run it over. And we see that's what happened here. AJ 2-0ing this Azure Aurelia.
And no Shadow Isles, but the gun was seen at least from AJ.
Absolutely.
I mean, that was a very, very quick match. We did say that we predicted AJ to win this, not only lineup-wise, but also because roster-wise, obviously, we predicted the Shadow Isles Money Gang here to win. Just they are doing way better, phenomenally in the group, currently in second place. Lotus Purple here, unfortunately, just getting another loss here. Really not doing all that well, but I'm still glad that we got to see some action here from AZ Aurelia, and it's so cool that there are so many players that are out here and competing in this league now, especially because this is going to be the last one. And we are in the next game ready, and oh my god, it is a Jordan mirror.
Yeah, and we're seeing in the Jordan mirror a leveled Ornn coming down, already leveled, coming down, copying this fearsome weapon. We're seeing this Jax Ornn mirror. It is Luna versus Nas.
Yes, and both here just going very, very better. I mean, I think this deck is one of the most, if not the most broad deck in this whole league.
Yeah,
we can see why. This, again, just a last year, John has been just insanely strong, and it's so tough to play for one side if the other side has that leveled on board, because not only is he providing great offensive, but he's also great defense, right? Just a 14-10 tough right now. It's super, tough to get through that. On the other side, we do see a level Jax though. No Ornn on the side of Luna. Oof.
Yes, we do see the Challenger Scholar, which is quite nice here. This Explorer is probably going to blow up this weapon and be able to pull this giant Ornn to the side so that Luna can try and push through some damage with the Jax. But between the Ornn and the 7/6 equipped unit here, I don't know that how much this Jax is going to be able to get through.
What we can see here is that there is an Explorer on Nas's side. So what we could kind of force here is Blastino to have like basically one more action before the attack and not multiple more actions. Because what we can do with this, disable keywords or disable equipment rather was the decision here. We could have either like gotten rid of the Challenger, or now we can just get rid of the Jax equipment, which just really unfortunate. Makes this whole turn way weaker from Celestino.
Yeah.
I mean, we can't play the double Sky Splitter this turn if we go for this play, but I do think it makes sense.
Yeah, I think we don't need both Sky Splitters here. Just blowing up this Jax weapon, removing its quick attack, really just takes it out of the attack here, right? Like, it'll still be fairly large. It'll still have overwhelm, and it will still get bigger in combat. But removing the equipment means it doesn't stay safe in combat, which is a huge deal.
Yeah, I still think like just disabling keywords was another option, because yes, obviously you can't use that on any of the units that already have equipment on them, because it would do nothing, but it would remove that Challenger and would enable you to block with Ornn.
Yep.
Hey,
I think,
just making a big attack here. Just going a little bit wider, trying to like obviously force as much out of Nas as possible. Because the next turn is a turn we might not survive on the side of Celestino.
Especially like with the Ornn open attack becoming a 16 power unit with Fearsome, and then making a 16 power overwhelm unit plus the 2 Sky Splitters in hand next turn. It's going to be tough to survive.
And we can see here now it's just ordering the blocks in the best way possible, taking as little damage as they can. And quite honestly, Celestino here tried to mount up a big attack again. Unfortunately, the board was just so wide on our side already that it's not like we could have really won this turn. And again, with one side having that leveled on, just being able to swing in, sounding the Ornn horn.
Yep.
It's over. It's over.
Yeah, I'm interested to see how these blocks resolve. And yes, I really like this. Cleaning up Celestino's board. Just saying, no, there's no options. The game is over here.
Crush their spirit while you're at it. Let's go. Now it's going for the best line possible, considering to not swing in here. I mean,
I think yeah. Playing the Jax, deciding, hey, get a third unit wide, play around to possible harsh winds, perhaps, Get this extra unit down, and now try again. We're not tapped below the harsh winds, so I think we're still not beating it. We may have to just go now, but I don't hate going for this scholar line either.
Yeah, so the challenge is to get away one of these big blockers, and now we see, okay, harsh winds is gonzo. We can swing in, we can get that lethal. I mean, might as well just develop another unit on top of it.
Yep.
Jax on the other side. That one has to block now. Quite unfortunate for that Jax. Z is gonna die. But I think it doesn't matter because so is Celestino.
Yes.
He's gonna... Jax just going down with Celestino. The captain goes down with the boat.
Now, is
a big
enough
ramp.
damage to...
See, that...
Yes.
It
should be.
Yes.
I think that is exactly lethal, yes.
And the big RAM does it. That's 16 gigabytes. That's exactly... No, I have 32 gigabytes of RAM. Never mind.
Well, yeah, I mean, 16 plus 16. There it is. Between Ornn and the RAM.
Between Ornn and the RAM. Yeah, these are my two RAM sticks in my PC.
Yes.
Let's go. And Nas takes the mirror, getting a 2-1 over Celestino. And that means Shadow Owl's Money Gang just absolutely beating down Purple Lotus right now.
Yeah. Looks like here Jax Ornn did pick up that first loss to Celestino's Ash LeBlanc here. But then Nas was able to run it back 2-0ing Celestino's Jax Ornn.
Just in the mid-range mirror can be quite hard to play against all these freezes if you are Jax Ornn, especially because on the other side, obviously, there is some development alongside of those freezes. So, yeah. Tough matchup, but winning the mirror here is super important, and Nas did it. Now, that said, I also see, obviously, there we have Demacia Targon in there as well. I do like my mid-range lineups. Demacia Targon, obviously, a region combination that is not one of the well-liked region combinations in the game. Although there are quite a few region combinations that are liked. I think Freyod Doxus is one of them. But yeah, if I remember correctly, Targon Demacia was one of the most hated region combinations at the release of Pantheon in the entire game.
Yeah, and you know, this deck, this isn't Pantheon, but it is close to as frustrating. Nothra Poppy Tarek here, rally combo.
Yes. Well, that deck, yeah. While frustrating, and while also deservedly having some haters, especially with the rally combo, I feel like has like it has that spot in the community where there are a lot of people that actually kind of love the deck like a little bit. It has like this, hey, it wasn't a super S tier for so long that some people are still like, hey, yeah, Poppy Tarek, that's my fave. That's one of my favorite mid-range decks.
It may be frustrating, but at least it gets to do a funny combo.
Yeah, at least they get to do something funny, and that's the most important part, right? You get to do a funny combo. Unless you are PNZ Ionia, okay? Then yeah. I hope you never get to do your funny combo, because your funny combo is... Alright, and it seems we have no more matches left here for our matchup between Lotus Purple and Shadow Owl's Money Gang. I mean, Shadow Owl's Money Gang here, obviously, I wouldn't say necessarily super steamrolling, because the Nas matchup versus Celestino was a 2-1, and we saw even that on a mirror that could have gone very close. It was just that Nas did have that on, and on the other side we didn't. Still very well played there from Celestino, I think. Just trying to hold on, but yeah, the card quality obviously was a difference, just drawing that second champion, and the on did end the game at the end, right? But good effort here from Lotus Purple, and we saw some solid plays, and do have some hope for those players.
Yeah, absolutely. We didn't see them play spoiler here, but they still have many matches left in which they can.
Hell yeah, okay. And with that, I think we are going to send it to a little break till we see you guys.
Tomorrow, won't the waves crash on? Is it selfish that I'm happy as we pass the setting sun? Someday I'll be overcast, but you won't have to cry, 'cause Well, I'm by your side. I said, don't try to make yourself remember. Darling, don't look for me. I'm just a story you've been told. So let's pretend a little longer. 'Cause when we're gone, everything goes on. And I'm so scared of getting used to this. All the vines that keep you tethered in your room. Well, someday both of us are leaving here, but for now I'll just bring this seed to you. Will you meet me in the daylight like we did before? Then I felt you on my shoulder, and you weren't suffering anymore. You said, I'm sorry that you worried, but don't apologize. I told you to forget me, but you stayed by my side when I said, don't try to make yourself remember. Darling, don't look for me, I'm just a story you've been told. So let's pretend a little longer. And when we're gone, everything goes on.
All right, and welcome back to week 4 of the Aegis Legends of Runeterra League. And it's still here, me, Sparking Ice-T, joined by the wonderful Spider-Mansion. And we already had a jam-packed round 1 today. First round here, obviously. But now we are back with another banger. And it is going to be the Hot Pink Cuties versus the Castaways 5, Sirvatsak Et.
Yeah, I'm impressed you went for it.
Yeah, I feel ashamed, like a little bit, but also there's a certain sense of accomplishment building up in me by saying that. I'm probably going to try to say that name a couple more times on broadcast.
I hope you know that I'm not going to attempt it.
It's okay, it's okay. I mean, to be fair, I think when we think about these teams, we are, the two of us, very excited for Hot Pink Cuties in general. Just absolute... as a caster, it's always hard to admit bias, but, you know, hot pink cuties. There are some hot pink cuties in that team, okay? Super excited to see that matchup just because they're absolutely fantastic players that I personally just really like.
I agree. I mean, I think Luna knows I'm a big fan of hers. But that's not who we're going to be following today. I think we'll be following Hot Pink Cuties player Kasai on stream.
Yes, Kasai also obviously fantastic player, just fantastic human being in general. And if you ever wonder, like, oh my god, this Hot Pink Cuties logo is looking so good, and a couple of other Aegis teams also have these like fantastic logos, and you wonder where they're coming from, it's from Kasai.
That's true.
Yeah, very, very talented. Hot Pink Cuties also, talking about talented, top of their group currently. Obviously, the Siavatzak currently in the bottom together with Krakru, so kind of has to fight their way back up, but Pink Cuties obviously wants to stay at the top and secure their win here in the group to move right into playoffs.
Absolutely. And I definitely think they can just win out here today and just smooth sail into the playoffs.
Oh yeah, I mean, to be honest, it is kind of hard to smooth sail if you are a castaway, okay? But they could need a little bit more wind in their sails to get out of their situation here and get back home, get into playoffs. That said, I think we can actually look at the decks for our first matchup here. Again, we mentioned we are going to be following Kasai, and Kasai has brought again another lineup I like. Okay, we're going full aggro here. We're gonna explore all these decks, but first up it's gonna be Annie Jin, and I mean that is just the definitive aggro deck ever since Annie and Jin dropped. Just a deck that really wants to go ham, really builds up on that Annie Jin synergy. We only see 6 spells in here because obviously we have all those skills on all of those units to push in that damage and close out the game as fast as possible.
Yeah, no surprises here from this Annie Jin list. You're seeing all the Annie Jin staples: the Doom Beast, the Tusk Speaker, the Stagehand, and then everyone's favorite aggro spells, Noxian Fervor and Decimate to end the game. What's not to like here in this aggro deck number 1?
Hell yeah, let's go Decimate. Doom Beast here as well, one of my favorite cards, obviously, in aggro decks. Doom Beast is just a fantastic card to close out the game, and sometimes if you play against other burn decks, you have the ability to get one over on them by healing a little bit as well. But yeah, I think there's not much to explain about this deck, because I think everyone on ladder regularly plays against this deck. But let's move on to the next one that Kasai has brought, and that is MFTF aggro. The Pirates are back. God damn it. Finally, and I'm just so happy to see this deck. We have the triple Decimate, we have the Noxian Fervors, we have the Make It Rains, we have the Eye of Nagakaburos, together with Twisted Fate and Zep Sprayfin, obviously. There is some draw here, but it's mainly just draw plus a unit attached. Just really good. A deck that can also go super fast. We have a bunch of 1-drops. We have some 2-drops that generate other 2-drops. We have the MF and Twisted Fate to deal a little bit with other aggro decks. It becomes really hard for other aggressive decks to block us if we have an MF on board. And Twisted Fate can obviously be a huge counter with the red card to clean other aggressive decks together with the Make It Rain.
Yeah, and another staple in this deck that I've always quite liked, the Zap Sprayfin here. You can tutor our Make It Rain or a Noxian Fervor, get a mana back, and just be able to close the game.
Oh yeah, super excited to see Zebby Boy. But again, Marai Warden, also one of the strongest cards in this deck, is played over the Spider, obviously, because Marai Warden just provides you with the opportunity to get quite strong cards on the board, like for example the Legion Rearguard that we see here, Legion Saboteur, Precious Pet. So many good 1-drops in this region's combination as well. Jagged Butcher, obviously, as a 3/3, also quite strong, but even on turn 1, if you have to throw it down as a 2/2, does its job well enough. Now, the third deck, though, and this is going to be a banger. The third deck is, again, another staple since the game's release. It is going to be Elise Spider aggro.
Yeah, I mean, when I was looking at this on the deck sheet, I should have known it was aggro, but it just says Elise. So I was really happy to open it and see my namesake, the Spider's aggro. A deck named after me, of course. But there's a choice in here that I'm not familiar with seeing a lot in this deck. And that's the one of Astral Fox, which I quite like here.
Yeah, very interesting. As you mentioned, you don't often see the Astral Fox. Also, the Elise here not paired with the Gwen. Gwen usually also like a great burn card, but in this deck we just really want to finish a little bit earlier, so Gwen doesn't really give us the additional value. Plus, as you mentioned, the one-off Astral Fox here, another option to just burn out your opponent, coupled this time around with 3 Doom Beast, obviously with the Stalking Shadows, cards like Stygian Onlooker, Doom Beast, just work absolutely fantastic. Either you get more burn or you can slam down an army of 4/1 1-drops, just really, really good. Also, with Stalking Shadows in this deck, we have the ability to get some more resources, right? Because we don't have something like a Zap Sprayfin in here. So usually if we run out of cards, we're kind of screwed, but that Stalking Shadows, especially as a 3-off, makes a little bit more sense. Brother's Bond is a really good one-off in this deck because usually you struggle in this deck to like find the last spot for a card. And Brother's Bond usually is the spot here because you do have quite a bunch of fearsome units. Also, you are so wide that usually post blockers, like when blockers are already committed, you can then commit the Brother's Bond, still get through with it.
Yeah, I definitely think that One Brothers Bond is a great choice for your one of your one-ofs here. Just, yes, push that last bit of damage, slap it on a fearsome unit. But here we are getting into our opponent Angel's decks, and we're starting off with Katarina Vladimir, which is just a gold-fashioned Sunburn, Noxus, Targon aggro here.
Yeah, super excited always to see Vladimir, obviously. He is and will always be my boy, okay? I'm just so excited because Vladimir, again, one of my favorite champions, I think, together with Vi, the champion I have the most mastery points on in this game. And after the buff, obviously, super solid mid-range card. So solid that he is actually just kind of getting Leona out of this deck, and now the just Noxus mid-range deck together with Talon just plays Vladimir and Katarina. Katarina obviously a staple in this deck just because provides that rally, provides the aggressiveness, provides a little bit of burn. Is all around fantastic card. This deck now also with the Enraged Fire Spitter is just such a mid-range menace, really tough. We have the triple might in here combined with 1 Noxian Fervor. The double flock is quite interesting because we can use that obviously in combination with the Solari Sunhawk as well as Katarina Blades or the Vladimir damage.
Yeah, absolutely. I really like those 2 flocks. And the other choice I really like here is the 3 of the Red Barbed Razor Maze. Just a 4/4 overwhelm that just when it hits, it can create that Ichor Curse in hand, just provide stacking damage. Really, really strong include here. I really like that.
Yeah, super excited to see this deck. Let's see how it fares against the more aggressive lineup from Kasai. We do have a couple of early units we can throw down, and we can definitely fight for the board with this deck, so it's maybe something to look out for Kasai to ban. Next up is Gangplank Sejuani. We were already talking about the Pirates, but here we see Plunder as well. Again, another staple mid-range archetype that got buffs. Now we do have the Father Fury in here. Great mid-range card. We have the Sky Splitter, just absolutely fantastic for this region combination. The Spirits Unleashed has been an absolute great card in this deck, just because it provides you with that huge board buff as well as another Plunder trigger and some burn. All around, really strong deck. Any surprises in this deck here for you?
You know, no major surprises, only because I saw this last time I was on the cast. But I really love the one of Dreadway as the top end here. You know, we've seen a lot of different top ends over the course of this deck's life. A really popular one for a while was one Field of Rush. But I love pushing this board-based